Welcome to the Let's Get Cozy Book Club podcast. This week we're chatting about our initial thoughts on All In, an autobiography by Billie Jean King. So grab a blanket, a warm beverage, and cozy up.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! 2026. What a year.
Yeah, we're all in.
We are all in.
How's your 2026 been so far, Liz?
It has been busy. We were in Austin this past week. Sebastian had a work trip. He was on a podcast. We can't say which podcast yet until it comes out, but he did mention our podcast on the podcast he was on. So
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, he didn't say the name of it, but he said my wife has a podcast, and so hopefully.
That's so sweet.
Yes.
Thanks for the shout out, Sebastian. Maybe we'll be reaching new audiences.
Yes. It would be great. It'd be so great.
Not sure our audience would overlap much with Sebastian's typical audience, but
You never know.
you never know. Cool.
Yes.
What else have you been up to?
Oh, yeah. And I had never been to Austin. It was really nice. It was very warm weather, and we had really good food. Our cousin Maddie gave us some recommendations on a sushi restaurant and some Mexican food. It was really good. I enjoyed Austin. And then Lily was here yesterday, and she came up and hung out before she goes to London.
Yeah. So exciting for her. It's nice she came to visit. What'd you guys do?
We played pickleball. We got our...
You didn't play tennis?
We pretended we were playing tennis. We pretended we were Billie Jean King and Margaret. Smacking the ball over the net.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, it was
close
fun.
enough.
Yeah. Pretty much.
You don't really play tennis. Did you play tennis ever?
I did play, for the rec. We did, those summer lessons. I did that for a few years.
When we were really young.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have not picked it up in recent years or something like that.
I couldn't remember if you were any good or not. No.
No.
Are you good at pickleball?
I'm fine. I mean, it's pretty intuitive. You just hit the ball over the net. It's not rocket science, so.
Okay. I don't know how good you are at racket sports.
I'm pretty good. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Could have been a pickleball superstar, but
There's
that
still
wasn't
time.
invented yet.
There's still time.
That is true. The retired men who play are very good. So
yeah,
I got plenty of time.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
That's fun. What have you been up to?
Not much. I've been pretty sick the past week and a half. Pretty nasty cold. Do not recommend. Hope everyone's staying safe and healthy out there.
Oh, that's no fun.
Yeah, it was no fun, but I watched a lot of TV. Did
Anything
a lot of
good?
napping. I watched The Studio on Apple TV.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
I enjoyed that one.
I also watched the Made Up Adventures of Dick Turpin.
Oh, God, wasn't that hilarious?
Very funny. Very British humor. Lily should watch it.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That was a good
yeah, it
one.
was pretty funny. And what else? Selling Manhattan was another show. I watched a lot of TV.
Nice.
So yeah, just been TV, napping, drinking tea, reading the book. Watched the Packers lose last night. That was kind of a bummer.
They were winning when I went to bed.
Yeah.
What happened?
They lost in the second
Well,
half.
I got that. But who were they playing again? Remind me.
The Bears. Chicago
They're
Bears.
playing
In Chicago. Yeah.
Oh. That's fun. And so now they're out of playoffs.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh. Bummer.
So bummer. Season over. But that's what happens, you know? Gotta play a full 60 minutes in football. That's the same with tennis. Tennis is a long sport, like in terms of the 3 matches. Like it's a lot. You have to play best of, what is it? I forget. I should know this. I rarely ever play a full like game of tennis, but it can be pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really it. That's all I've been up to. What's going on in the podcast world?
Oh, so we are officially on YouTube, which I'm very excited about. We've been talking about this for a long time. And so you can go on YouTube and find our name, the Let's Get Cozy Book Club, and you can subscribe, you can leave comments on the podcast, and then we can like read them, and like you can read the other people's comments. We're very excited. I am, at least. And so
great. I'm also excited. Yeah. Cool. So come find us on YouTube if that's your preferred platform for podcast listening. And we're also trying out the pop filter that Kyle gave us for Christmas. So hopefully our sound quality is better.
Yeah. I mean, good sound quality is very important for certain listeners. And so we want to be A game. I mean, I can't tell the difference. And Sebastian's always like, oh, it sounds horrible. But he said Lily sounded 1,000 times better because we gave her a little microphone. And
which she's going to take with her to London.
Yes.
And interview people for her vlog. She needs to start her own YouTube channel.
It sounded like she was going to do Instagram, not stories, highlights. So she was going to do a highlights that says travel, and then she will document her travels there. That's what I was told. Because I wanted her to do like a post for like each place she travels, but she said no. And
too much work.
It is. Well, and I told her don't do stories because like I'm not on Instagram every day, and they like disappear after 24 hours, and like I will miss them, and so please post them somewhere I can see them. So yeah.
Good call. Okay. Fun stuff. Yeah. So we're getting out there. We are making content. The Pinzak sisters we're here. 2026. We're all in.
We're all in.
Cool. Yeah. It seems like our listeners enjoyed the last episode. Got some comments.
Yes, it was a very spicy book, and Mom said that it was her best podcast yet, and she's never going to have eggnog, popcorn, or peanut butter ever again. Because
you'll have to listen if you want to know what that's about. Yeah, that was a little spicy. This
book is kind of the opposite.
This book is the opposite.
So we got both spectrums.
We're reading a lot of different kinds of things, which is good. We got to keep it diverse, keep it broad. We don't want to, get too comfortable reading.
Yes, keeping it interesting.
Or romance. So, cool. Yeah, and then we're going to eventually add some video to our podcast. We'll get there.
That is the goal. It's been a little busy. I just have to look into it, and that is the goal. Because it's been a busy start to the new year, but I feel like it's going to be an all-in kind of year.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like it. Cool. So, let's get into the book, shall we?
Let's do it. There is a lot happening.
There's a very large book. Sorry. I didn't know that when... I guess I knew she had done a lot in her life, but I didn't know the book would be so long. Although I think autobiographies or memoirs tend to get a little lengthy.
Yes, I don't think they have such a strict word count or are cut off at a certain point.
Yeah.
But I think that's been everyone's initial comment was oh, it's long.
She's very detailed. But that's okay. Well, she's done a lot. So
she has done a lot.
We'll get into it. So you read up to page 165, it looks like.
Yes.
I'm reading on my Kindle because I wasn't able to order the book yet. And I got 20% through the book. So
nice. Which is where?
Up to chapter 11. I don't know what page that is in your book. But it's when it ended when they finally went pro. And she went to Wimbledon that year and her parents came.
And she won that year.
And she won. As usual. Not as usual. Took her some time to get there. We'll get into it. But yeah. Alrighty. So the book is a thorough walkthrough of Billie Jean King's life. It starts with her childhood in sunny California, and she falls in love with tennis. She plays it pretty much nonstop and even misses her high school graduation because she's playing at Wimbledon. And at her first Wimbledon, she loses singles, but she wins doubles. And she becomes the youngest player to ever win. But she learns at a young age that she wants to be an activist and fight for equal rights and opportunities for everyone. She gets married to Larry King and finally becomes the #1 tennis player in the world. But she is struggling financially because they're amateurs at that point and she's not able to make money. But if she's able to go pro, she could, play certain tournaments and get, a salary. So things are starting to improve for the men at that point. This is the 1960s, but not so much for women. And that's when Billie decides to go all in on making tennis her platform and fighting for women's rights in sports. Specifically tennis too, but sports generally. So yeah, cool. That's kind of where we're at so far in the book. Yeah, I think, what are your initial impressions, Liz?
I definitely think, it's been a very interesting history lesson. She's been weaving in a lot of what's happening in the world, giving us context, which was helpful. Because I didn't know a ton about things about what was happening in the 1950s, 60s, and what it would have been growing up during that time and all of that. So that's been very interesting. It is just taking I'm a third of the way in, and she's only 25. So I'm whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
she
fair.
Remembers a lot about her childhood, which I'm I don't even think I could. I'm half her age, or I don't even know.
That's kind of part of what I was wondering. I was there's no way I would remember all that stuff in detail, but I wonder with just the internet and having all of that you could be look up the tournament and be oh yeah, I remember that game, that's what happened kind of thing. Because I think that would really help. But otherwise you'd be I don't know, I played a ton of tennis and won a lot.
Or remembered everyone's names and everything.
Yeah. I don't know. So far, I really like the book. I love all the tennis stuff. The names are kind of hard, but I think it's been really interesting. And yeah, I agree with the history lesson aspect of it, because that's been a huge part of the book, is weaving that in and really shaped her career in tennis. And I don't know, I think it's interesting. I really like it. I think she's going to be one of my new heroes, role models. She starts the book with an RBG quote, which I was oh yeah, she's my girl. Which the quote is, "Fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you." So yeah. So when I opened it, I was oh yeah, this is gonna be one of my new ladies I'd like to have lunch with. So
that's a fun thought. I think she was very strategic about how she went about her activism, and we can get in. Well, we will get into that because that's a big part of the book.
Yeah.
Do we want to start at the beginning?
Yeah,
because that's kind of how the book goes chronologically from her grandparents.
Yeah, she starts all the way from her family tree. which was interesting.
It's like who, what she came from and like how that made her who she was, basically.
Yeah.
And she was born into a very athletic family. So it kind of makes sense. Like, she didn't come from like nowhere. Her brother played Major League Baseball for 12 years as a relief pitcher at the San Francisco Giants, Houston Astros, and the Toronto Blue Jays. So he was also a very successful athlete. And the father could have played basketball for the Basketball Association of America, which was the precursor to the NBA. But he declined to play in it because he wanted to support his family.
Yeah. He could shoot 100 free throws in a row and make them all.
I know. When he was, like, out of practice. Like, he wasn't, like, still playing.
Yeah. So, super athletic family. Very different from our family. I was kind of thinking that we don't have any, like, major athletes in our families. At least that I know of. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting childhood to be raised in that sort of atmosphere where sports, like, her parents were super supportive of her, like, playing tennis. They moved, like, mountains to, like, allow her to play. They had, like, no money growing up. So she talked about having to, like, work odd jobs as, like, a 12-year-old so that she could save up to, like, buy a tennis racket. And her, like, first tournaments, like, they couldn't afford, like, the flight, so they had to, like, take a train, like, across the country that took, like, 3 days, you know, stuff like that, where, like, there wasn't really any money for her to, like, play. But because she was so good, she started getting in, like, the tournaments. And once you won, I think, a certain tournament, that she could be a part of, like, the country club where they were hosting, like, the tournaments for the juniors. So she could attend, like, those then for free. But yeah, so that was kind of like that's a huge backdrop of, like, the book and, like, the history is, like, there was no money for her, just, like, generally, like, and it was, like, the rich kids were the only ones that were getting to play, like, sports.
And it also seemed like it was a lot of luck too, because she was born into this there was this part of California where there was, I think he was a former player who was giving these free lessons to kids, and there was, like, one day every week he would give lessons in different parts of California, and her parents would drive her each day to, like, the different locations, and she would take those free lessons, and that was how she basically was able to become a player. Otherwise she would never have been able to make it, because her parents couldn't afford lessons, because that was another thing, like, she didn't have a ton of formal training or, like, coaches until like later on, which is, like, what helps her become number one. And so she was pretty, like, self-taught and didn't have as many opportunities as someone, like, as the rich kids did, but she took advantage of the ones that she did have.
Yeah, and, like, luckily too that, like, because she was in that part of California where the weather's nice all year round, she could play tennis, like, all year round rather than just during certain seasons. So she got, like, a lot of practice in when she was young, which I think is, like, a crazy part, I mean, of a lot of, like, professional sports, which is, like, how young, like, kids are when they start, like, playing. And, like she was going to the tournament. She was, like, 14 when she, like, had first, like, really started playing in, like, the tournaments and,
like, traveling across the country.
Yeah. So that's, like, one major backdrop of the book, or theme of the book, I guess, so far, is just, like, the financial aspect of, you know, being a kid who's, like, shows potential in terms of, like, a sport or, like, talent, but, like, not having the money to do it, or, like, trying to figure out means to get better. And then, so, like, that was, like, kind of one vein, and then we can go into, like, being an amateur versus a pro in a little bit. But I think the other main vein, which we've kind of alluded to already, is, like, the historical backdrop of like what was going on during this time in like the 1960s and 70s when she was becoming like number one. But,
do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So this is like a good history lesson. There's so much going on, I feel like, at this time. So in the 60s, she talked about where she went to a tournament in the Soviet Union, where it was like kind of like everyone was like, I don't know if you should go, sort of thing. Like, your hotel room's going to be bugged. Like, it's going to be kind of interesting. But she went because she thought it'd be like, I mean, she wanted to play. And it was, I think that was her first trip out of the US, was to the Soviet Union. So she said, like, it was kind of not great. Coming back.
She was very
like,
happy she was
the
born
ground.
in the US. Yeah.
She couldn't kiss the ground when she came back. And then she went on another tournament to South Africa, which like was when the apartheid was going on. So there was just a lot of like the tournaments, like just like global politically, you know, she started to realize how she could use tennis as like a way to like bring people together, and that, you know, when she was deciding whether or not to go to South Africa, like she was like, I want to do this because one, I want to play, and two, like it's a way to, I don't know, just kind of like bring people together and, you know, be an activist and be, you know, the change I want to see in the world. So that was going on like in the world. And then at home in the US, I mean, obviously like the civil rights movement was taking place across the country. And you know, she talks a lot about, you know, the political assassinations that occurred during that time, like JFK, Malcolm X, Dr. King, and Bobby Kennedy, which seemed to like really affect her, like personally.
Yes.
That was interesting. Going into the 70s, you know, the Vietnam War, and then the, you know, the starting feminist movement, women's rights movement. So a lot going on at the time, and this is, you know, the time that she started becoming number one and starting to get her own platform herself. So yeah.
Yeah, and she like knew it. I think it was in like 1955 when schools became combined.
Oh, Brown v. Board of Education. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then that was when she kind of realized how white the sport of tennis was, and how like it was very exclusive, and how she wanted, if she became very successful at it, that she wanted to be an activist and make it more inclusive for everybody and to fight for everybody's rights to play it. And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was crazy. She was like 10 years old, and she's like, I'm gonna become number one, and I'm gonna
change the sport. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, dang,
make
girl.
it for everybody. Yeah.
That's amazing that you knew it at that age and like could remember you knew that and like stuck with it.
Yeah. And she talks a lot too about like the strategic nature of activism. And then when she eventually meets her husband, or ex-husband, he kind of, I mean, we can talk about him, I guess, now if we want.
We can talk about Larry.
Yeah. Like she and Larry talked a lot about activism. But so she met Larry in college. This was when she still, at the time, like wasn't able to play full time. So she was like going to college, but like not really interested in like studying, and was just trying to figure out how she could play tennis like as much as possible. And so she met Larry in college. They kind of hit it off. Like he was also a tennis player. He was playing tennis at the same college as her, but he was like 7th on the team. And he was like, I'm getting treated better than you, even though you're like number 4 in the world. Like, this is crazy. So she like says that Larry was kind of the first person who made her a feminist. And it was kind of around the time that word was starting to pop up, which was in like the early 60s, when the Feminine Mystique was published. And so they eventually get married, and he actually thought about taking her last name when they got married too, which I thought was kind of interesting since that was really unheard of at the time. He, I think, really supported her tennis career, especially at a time when like they got married. They, you know, put off like having kids, and so that she could go play tennis, which again, like totally unheard of at the time. And so, yeah, he was pretty like instrumental, I think, in like her allowing her to really focus on her career. And he was kind of, you know, an activist himself, but in a different way.
Yes. He was, like, at the beginning, I'm like, oh, Larry's super great. Like, he's super supportive. They met at, like, 17 and 18, and then they got married super young. Mm-hmm. And I think then it became, like, the very, like, once they got married, the dad was like, how are you going to support Billie? And so he is in college and, like, takes another job. And then once they got married, it kind of got a little interesting because she kind of, instead of, like, continuing to play tennis, she kind of, like, stopped playing to, like, support Larry and, like, bring him lunch at, like, 2 a.m. while he was working. Yeah. And, like, that got a little weird. And then she was like, kind of screw this. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And she got an opportunity to play, or for an Australian coach to coach her. Mm-hmm. And he was very supportive of that. He was the coach of the number 1 player in the world, her rival, Margaret.
Yeah.
And the guy basically wanted to coach Billie because Margaret wasn't, well, like, how do we say it in a nice way? He wanted to teach Margaret humility and, like, how good she's got it by making Billie Jean even better player. And, like,
so Billie Jean beat her once, like, at a tournament. And then, so I think the Australian coach was like, oh, like, Billie's good. Like, Billie Jean's good.
But she's never had any formal training.
Right. Because in the U.S., they couldn't be pro, but in Australia, they could be pro. So Margaret was pro. So she was making money. So, yeah, the Australian coach was like, I want to show you, like, she's good and she doesn't even, like, have any formal training. Like, so he was basically trying to make Margaret better. And, be a little bit more humble for how good she's got it. And so, so, like, Larry, Billie Jean's husband, was, like, very supportive about her going abroad for, like, 6 months, even though they had, like, just gotten married. And he was like, yeah, you should totally go. Like, I'm applying to law school right now. So, so she goes to Australia for, like, at least the summer or 6 months. And she completely, like, relearns her game. And
that's what ultimately made her number 1. And then Margaret retires.
She beats Margaret, and then Margaret quits. Which is kind of funny. And that's kind of why that's one of the reasons I, like, really like tennis. It's such, like, a dramatic sport. I feel like there's, like, huge egos and, like, people, like, you know, smash their rackets if they, like, get upset, or, like, it's, like, pretty dramatic and intense. And I feel like there's, like, a lot of divas and, like, on, like, you know, men and women on both sides. And I think it's just, like, kind of fun and funny.
There was the Netflix TV show, I think it's called Match Point. They discontinued the season, but it was great because it follows, like, the young players. And, like, it's so mental, the game. Like, like, the psychology of, like, the two, like, players playing against each other, and, like, how they have to, like, stay in, like, a good place mentally, because, like, once you start, like, slipping and going into, like, a negative place, like, it's very hard to, like, turn it around. And, like, the mental battle, like, you're basically playing with yourself during a match, is so fascinating. And, like, I found it super. She hasn't talked about a ton about the psychology. Maybe she didn't really have many issues, but, like, I mean, she had a couple, but
she talked about, like, that I think I think she's known for having a little bit of an attitude, at least on the court and stuff. She hasn't gone into it a ton. She has not gone into it, and I don't know if that's deliberate or not. But, she talked about, like, one example where she, like, threw a game, because in the stands there was, like, this guy there who was from the USLTA, which was the nonprofit that ran tennis, like, in the U.S. that, like, required everyone to be, like, amateurs, and, like, kind of, like, had complete control over the players and stuff. So there was a guy like from the organization that was like at one of the games she was at, and she like hated him because he was like trying to make her share her like number one title with another player, so that another player he liked this other player better, and he like wanted her to go to all the tournaments and stuff because they could only send like whatever the top 2 or whatever at the time. And she was like yelling at the ump to like get him out of the stands and like all this stuff. And then she like threw the game because she was like upset that he was there. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. Yeah. So like that was kind of the only example I've seen so far of her like really getting, kind of getting that like that ego a little bit, or that little like doing something like throwing a game because you're upset that like someone you don't like is like in the stands. It's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, and she talked a little bit about like, I guess for athletes at that level, like winning versus losing, where like winning is just like a little spike in elevation and that kind of comes and goes, but like losing is like forever, and like losing just eats at you, and kind of gave some examples of like what some of the players like admitted that they do when they lose. Like one would just like pace the floor for days. This other woman like trashed a hotel room and stayed in her robe just like binging junk food for like 3 days, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like the rock star mentality a little bit, I feel like, or like once you start getting at that level, it's ego gets like a little inflated. So yeah, I'm curious if we'll see like more examples of that in like the second half of the book when she starts getting like I feel like the part I got to, at least she's good. Like she's now like number 1 and starting to win, but like I mean, as we know, like her career, she's like the number 1 for a while. Another thing that she talks about too that we didn't get into yet, but you mentioned like another player binge eating junk food, is like her relationship with like her weight and food and stuff, because it kind of started when so like part of the crazy thing with like this going on was like she was so young when she was going to tournaments like across the country or across the world. So when she went to Wimbledon for the first time, she was like 17 or something. Mm-hmm. And it was just like her and another player who was like the same age as her. And they were like eating junk food like the whole time and just like eating ice cream for dinner and like didn't, like had like no supervision. So she started like binging a lot and like had a really tough like relationship with food and started to gain weight. She like one of the things she said when she came back from Wimbledon was like her parents didn't recognize her when she got off the flight. Right. Because like she had gained like 20 pounds.
Which is crazy because like Sebastian, well, we have an ice cream place by us, and Sebastian goes and gets like ice cream in the summer, like pretty much every day. He gets like a double scoop. I was like, how much ice cream? Like, and he, like, yeah. And, like, because this woman's playing professional tennis, so she's playing, like, crazy amounts.
Like, yeah.
Like, and I was like, how much ice cream is she eating to have gained 20 pounds and, like, but playing professional, like, it was.
I know.
So, like, there was some, like, legit, things happening.
Yeah, I think, she struggles with that. I don't know if she's going to get more into it. I couldn't tell if it seemed like she had like an eating disorder, if it got to that level. I mean, obviously I don't think they were diagnosing like eating disorders, or that kind of thing at this time. But yeah, it's definitely part of, and I think that's a huge part of like sports too, is like nutrition. And I think a lot of professional athletes can fall into the trap of like eating disorder type of
the perfectionism.
Situations. Yeah. So that's part of it too. And I think it started pretty young with her, just because she just didn't have any supervision and there weren't like nutritionists at the time. It also sounded like too, because like when they'd stay at like these places, they like weren't really fed anything. Like, imagine being a 17-year-old and like staying at like a weird hotel in London and like there's no food. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So, and they had no money either. So, like, all they could afford was to get, like, ice cream, I guess.
Just super, yeah. And she was also saying she thinks some of her food issues came from her childhood where, like, there was never, like, enough food or was frowned upon to eat more. And so, yeah.
So she, would binge a lot when she could. Yeah.
And some of the other things she, I guess, had to overcome, which one I thought was hilarious. She was like, had to get glasses.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess I never even thought that this would be like something to like overcome and to support, because like there was only one major tennis champion, male or female, who wore glasses, and it was like Jaroslav Drobny of Czechoslovakia, and like so she wanted to be like the next one. I was like, I guess like that was a big deal back then.
Contacts back then, I guess, or like goggles. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of funny. I mean, well, I don't know. She did it. So
she talked. Yeah. Well, she was always like mentioning like the weather was bad. My glasses would steam up and I couldn't
fog up. Yeah. Yeah. Just as like another reason. Yeah. I know. I thought that was funny too.
It's good.
She also got like really sick too.
Yes.
So she had kind of a lot of issues, but like she got really sick. Sorry. Well, I mean more like, so she went to South Africa for that tournament and got like some nasty.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Like disease or something, where she was like super ill, like couldn't play, and it was like bothering her for months, like after she got back. Eventually she had like colitis and like learned she like couldn't have dairy. So she was like, had to like change her diet. But it took her like a really long time to get like diagnosed and like better. And she was like on antibiotics for like a super long time. And then she also got into like a car accident that like when she got back, that like she got like crunched basically, and her knees got screwed up.
Smushed. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like a huge, issue, because you need your good knees in tennis. It's like a really big part of playing tennis. So.
Well, that's what is also crazy, because she eventually had to get surgery for them. And I mean, she was only 25, which was also crazy, because I didn't realize how young she was. So she got surgery. She came out, and the doctor was like, oh my God, this was way worse than we thought. And you'll never play tennis again. Or, like, you'll never go to Wimbledon again. And she was like, wait, what?
Yeah. So, yeah, she worked through a lot in terms of, like, setbacks and, like, physical injuries and stuff as she was making her way up. Yeah, I think the last thing we haven't quite talked about is, like, the sport itself at the time, where it was... At least we didn't get into it too much detail yet. But at the time in the U.S., tennis was run, like I said, by USLTA, which was a nonprofit. So they all had to be amateurs if they wanted to play in the big tournaments, which were the four big ones are Wimbledon, the French, it's not called the French Open, Australia, and U.S. So Forest Hills is where they used to host the U.S. Open, which is where Kyle and I lived when we were in New York. So that was kind of fun of her talking about like Forest Hills a lot, because I spent a lot of time there, obviously. And we actually went to the Forest Hills Stadium, which was where they used to host the U.S. Open, and saw a Fall Out Boy concert there, which was super fun. So we were like in the stands.
Nice.
Yeah. So super fun for her to like talk about Queens, New York a lot, and like Forest Hills, since I've been there, walked around there a lot. But yeah, so at the time, this was before anyone could go pro in the US, but in the other countries, like in England or Australia, the players could be pro. So they were getting paid like full salaries, whereas in the US, they were getting paid nothing. So they had to like raise money, like have like family, like family and friends like chip in for her flights to go like to England.
Wimbledon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or Australia to play. And like she wasn't making any money, and like it was pretty bad for like everyone, and people were like getting paid under the table, but like women weren't getting like anything basically. And like she mentioned that she like won tournaments and like won the singles, doubles, and mixed doubles at Wimbledon, and all she got was like a voucher for like 45 euros.
Do you imagine?
It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, and like the thought was, or to keep players as amateurs, was like they wanted to keep tennis pure and like not make it too commercial. Right. And like, yeah, they were just worried that it would just change the dynamic of the sport. And what did she say? Like, you can't eat off like honor, like of winning a trophy. Like,
yeah, but then I think so that's something she used her platform for when she started winning, and when she became number one, was like, we need to go pro. Like, so then when the first opportunity came up, there were like two guys that were like, I don't even know like how that even happens. We're like, I'm gonna start a pro tennis team. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so one guy did that. So she joined with like a bunch of people. Like it was like 4 women and like 4 men. And the women got paid half what the men got paid, but she was getting paid. So she was excited. And like the first tour they did when they went pro was like awful.
Yeah. It sounded pretty rough, like, but they had the time of their lives.
Yeah. So that was, and then she got like her first big endorsement, which was Maxwell House Coffee and like Hertz, and she got a credit card, which was a big deal at the time since women were not allowed to have credit cards.
But this is kind of like when like the marriage troubles are starting, because like she's away for so long. And Larry is still in law school. And, I mean, like, paying, like, international phone calls, they couldn't, like, afford to even, like, do that. So, she has an affair. Did you get to that part?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll save it then.
We'll save it for the next episode.
We'll save it for the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I didn't get that far.
All right. This is when, things get a little interesting in their relationship. Okay, we'll save that. I did want to talk a little about some of her mentors or coaches she had, because their stories were like crazy. I was just like, wait, what? Yeah, and like you couldn't make this up. Like it was that like wild. So one of them was like Maureen, Little Mo Connolly.
Cannoli.
Oh God.
Wait, so these are the people who were like like when she was growing up that were like her coaches. So these are like randos in LA, like not professional, coaches at all. Like just random people who were like former players. But continue.
Yes. So she was one of her idols. She had a tragic accident where a cement truck sideswept a horse she was riding on the side of the road, and like she was never able to play tennis again. I was like, what? Like what? I can't even picture like how that even happened. And and then she died of ovarian cancer at age 34, which was like, Jesus. I mean, she was number one, like, at Wimbledon, or, like, she was number one, or, so, like, I guess she had some great success, but Jesus, that is a rough, short
super
life.
Super young. Uh-huh. Yeah, and she was also the coach that, like, told Billie Jean King that she's like, you'll never make it. You'll never be good enough. And then and Billie Jean thinks it was, like, reverse psychology, because
that's what she hoped.
Yeah, because, like, later, I guess she heard like, she did say that she was going to make it or something, but yeah. Crazy.
And then the other lady was Coach Alice Marble, and she was also a former champion. And she had one functioning lung and but still smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. And, like, how that she got to that point was, at 21, she collapsed during a match from tuberculosis and pleurisy. I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
And then, so she had to recover from that. And while she was recovering, she became a professional singer, as one does. And then she gets married. Her husband dies in World War II, getting bombed down. He got bombed down and died. She had a miscarriage, and then she tried to commit suicide. And yeah, it was just like, what? And then and then Billie Jean and her had a big like blow up, which was a little confusing. Which was like, was it really that big of a deal? But apparently it was. So I think we weren't given all of the information, or it was given in a very brushed over light about how that all went down. Because like basically Billie Jean said like Coach Marble called and was like, hey, I'm not doing good today. And Billie's like, okay, no worries. I won't come this week then. And then Marble was like, what? You're such a spoiled kid. Why don't you come down and, like, take care of me? I don't want to ever talk to you again. Phone hung up. Billie's crying. Billie's mom calls Marble and was like, hey, I don't really know what's going on. Is everything okay? And she's like, no, I never want to see your kid again. Hang up. That was the end of their relationship. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there. I don't know.
It seemed very dramatic.
But
for, like, saying
she was, like, 16 at the time. Yeah, I don't know. Well, at least she eventually found some slightly better coaches. But, yeah, I do think, like, having, like, a lack of coaches is, like, kind of crazy for, like, how good she was.
Yeah.
So, the sport has changed quite a bit. Okay. And now we have, what is known as the open era. So that's why everyone's pro now. There's no more, I'm sure there's amateurs, but like people in tennis are pro now, which started in 1968. So that's why it's called like the US Open and the French Open and the Australian Open, so that like both amateurs and professionals could play.
Yes, because the amateurs were, people wanted to remain as an amateur so that you could play in all the tournaments, because at the time you weren't allowed in certain ones. If you were, like, if you wanted to play in Wimbledon, you had to be an amateur. Like, they kicked out certain, like, number one players, even if they were pros instead of amateur. Yeah. And so you kind of had to choose if you wanted to make money or if you wanted to play in tournaments, which was, a tough choice for someone who loved the sport. Wanted to do it professionally.
Yeah, so now it's changed thanks to Billie Jean and others. And so, yeah.
Do you have any predictions?
Well, now I know that she's having an affair. I don't know. I think she's going to keep on winning. And yeah, I'm not quite sure how her career ends. I'm sure her knees will be a big problem. And I know she builds a stadium in Queens, so.
Yeah. Well, one of mine is because Billie Jean like kind of like foreshadows that she is lesbian, but she doesn't like quite know it at the time. Yeah. And like she's like learning it as she gets older, and she gets publicly outed, and I think Margaret publicly outs her, and like that, because Margaret's apparently she just kind of seems like not a great person.
Margaret is she kind of alludes to Margaret being a not so good person.
So that's why I think.
Yeah. That's probably a good prediction. Mm-hmm.
And then I do think she divorces Larry. Because she does end up with a different life partner that is not Larry. So
yes.
I mean, they could have an open relationship. I do think the relationship remains amicable because she does keep his last name. He's probably still in her life and like helping with being Larry the promoter instead of Larry the lawyer and all that sort of stuff. But
yeah.
We'll
find out.
We will find out.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that was a lot, and I'm only 20% of the way through the book, so we got a lot to go. And I'm excited to do some research and pick my next book for February, which will be the word of the month is Be Mine. So.
I have a lot of ideas, like too many ideas. I am leaning toward romantasy, although I think thriller would be kind of fun too, like a creepy.
Creepy.
Well, thriller is usually like what was the stalker one? You, the stalker TV show. You, like where like the lover like he wants like her to be mine.
I see.
Kind of like that. How it's like
weird.
A little twisted in the Be Mine. Idea.
Interesting take. Okay.
That was. We'll see. We will see what I end up with.
Cool. Okay. We will see, won't we? Be mine. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening to episode 15. Leave us a comment or review. And we're now on YouTube. We'd love to connect with you, and you can find us on Instagram at letsgetcozybookclub or email us at letsgetcozybookclub@gmail.com. Join us in 2 weeks where we continue our discussion of All In, an autobiography of Billie Jean King. Until then, stay cozy.
Cozy.
Yeah.
Woo. Did it.